Monsters University is one of the most underrated Pixar movies to date. Everything about it is completely brilliant in my opinion. But in this video I want to talk about its ending. In particular, how the characters in the movie evolve and what the underlying messages of the movie are. So let's start with Mike. In the opening sequence we see two things very clearly. Mike's dream of becoming a scarer and the obstacles that stand in his way. Or I should say obstacle, just one, his appearance. Throughout the movie, Mike is bombarded with people doubting his ability to reach his goals and aspirations. Kids at his school doubt him, people in college doubt him, Dean Hardscrabble doubts him, and even his close friend doubts him. And of course all of them voice their doubts very explicitly to Mike. And although you can see that he is hurt by what his doubters constantly tell him, he never lets it take him down. He uses this energy as fuel to drive him even further. He studies and prepares even harder. His belief in himself and his sheer perseverance trump anything that anyone could ever say to him, almost to the point of delusion, or maybe exactly to the point of delusion. But everyone has a breaking point, and I think we see that in the scene when Sully tells him he rigged the machine because he didn't want the team to lose because of him. This is the first time that Mike actually doubts himself, because it's not what the outsiders say that hurt us the most, it's the people that are truly close to us that can really hit us where it hurts. So Mike sets out to prove to Sully and also to himself that he has what it takes to be a scarer. And here he's faced with the reality that even after all of his hard work, and even though he wants this more than anyone else, some things are beyond his control. And honestly, the scene at the lake where he says all of that really hits hard, because everyone wants the underdog to win, especially when they've put their all into it like Mike had. And to see Mike defeated for the first time ever, and I don't mean that in a game or anything like that, no, I mean in his mind, his purpose, his dreams were shattered. That got me choked up, not gonna lie. Anyways, here's where Mike makes a great leap in character, and where the main message of the movie really comes in, because after all of that, and after a moment of defeat, Mike comes back. And that's not easy because he's invested his whole life into his dream. His mind has been consumed by it. And finally, when he knows for certain that maybe some things are beyond his control and are outside of his hands, that maybe he can't be a scarer, he doesn't let it get to him and get him down. Life goes on, and at the end, we see him pursuing his dreams from another angle. And you know what? I think that was a beautiful message. And what is the message? The message is that of perseverance and also reality, both portrayed brilliantly by Mike. Everyone has dreams, and should have them because it gives us purpose, and we should work hard for them no matter the obstacles, no matter the naysayers. And these two things are inevitable when you're chasing something bigger than yourself, the obstacles and the naysayers. But you have to persevere and believe in yourself, even when no one else will. Now the other side of this message is that some things are beyond our control, and this shouldn't be misconstrued as a defeatist message that tells you not to follow your dreams, or to look for excuses because you can't make it. That's not it at all. It's just a taste of reality that I think everyone needs. Some people are just gonna be naturally better than you. Some people are gonna have much better returns for their efforts. Some people will have much more resources than you do. Life isn't fair. Now you can cry about it or you can do something about it. Mike does something about it until the very end. And when that isn't enough, he doesn't crash. He slightly reroutes and uses his strengths to his advantage. And that's an important message too. Individuality and personal strengths. And that's something that Mike learns, not only with himself, because he already had that self-belief, but extending beyond himself. Because you can see that Mike's understanding of individuality was exclusive to himself to a certain extent. And that is portrayed in how he reacts to his team, Oozma Kappa, multiple times. At the start he doesn't believe in their capabilities, and wants to quote-unquote carry the team. He almost treats them just like other people treat him. Which is a very interesting view that the movie gave us. But after he learns that he can't just carry the team on his own, he starts opening up his mind and seeing them for what they are, seeing their true individuality. And of course this goes to the classic quote of "Don't judge a book by its cover." And the reason it's classic is that it's true. But there's also another layer to it in that Mike hated how people didn't believe in him, although he did the same to Oozma Kappa at the start. So the message here extends beyond just don't judge a book by its cover. It covers the main character syndrome that we can sometimes exhibit by only looking at things from our perspective. People didn't believe in me, people didn't support me, people were against me. But am I one of those people to others? Who am I supporting? Who am I mistakenly being against? Of course, looking outside of ourselves can be hard at times, but this movie does so well in reminding us of the importance of that. Now on to Sully. Sully's almost the complete opposite of Mike, and it is the reason they clash at the start. Mike had to work his heart out to be at Monsters University, while Sully has been handed everything. He's got the name and the stature, but he's taken it completely for granted. He doesn't work hard and he's pretty arrogant as well. But all that changes once he joins Oozma Kappa, as he learns that although he is gifted, it isn't enough, and he actually needs to put the work in. He learns from his once rival Mike the importance of working hard, and his mindset completely changes. This would usually be a very cliched transformation. Lazy guy becomes hardworking, but what makes it more interesting is the initial contrast that we had with Mike and him, and how he was influenced by Mike in a positive way. Another thing that was interesting that wasn't touched on too much in the movie is why Sully was the way he is. At the end, on the lake, he opens up and tells him that he is terrified. And this gives us some sort of insight on what motivated the lack of effort from Sully. Paradoxically, his fear of letting his family down, letting people down, paralyzed him, and that's why he was the way he was. It's important to mention that Sully, like Mike, had judged Oozma Kappa way too soon, and we see that he learned the value of individuality and playing to your strengths. And that's not only displayed with his interactions with the team, but also with his interactions with Mike by the end of the movie. And we see that exemplified very well in that last scene, where Sully tells Mike how special he is, and reminds him of his strength, that they both complement each other very well. And this is a far cry from the Sully that we saw initially. And again, this brilliant character development is just one other reason that I think the ending to this movie is perfect. But I'm not done yet, because the main characters aren't the only ones that have their share of character development. And here I want to talk about Oozma Kappa, who I already mentioned. But before I do, I want to say that although they might seem like jokers that are there for comedic relief sometimes, their importance in the movie, on the characters and on us, the audience, is huge. Because these guys give us too many good messages. Now let me start. In the beginning, they're just a band of misfits that no one wants to join, and that no one believes in. Mike and Sully included, because they treat them like filler. They as well don't believe in them, and they try to win the games on their own. But once the first game hits, they realize that they can't just win it on their own, and they have to be a team. And that's lesson 1 from Oozma Kappa. And I know it's a pretty simple concept, but you have to remember that a huge portion of the audience of this movie are kids, so the simple messages are just as important as the more complex ones. And of course, the importance of teamwork here was a great message that was portrayed through Sully and Mike very well, as they learned to set aside their differences and work together for the common good of the team. What else? Understanding your individuality or other people's individuality. And here the recipients of that message weren't just Sully and Mike. Dean Hardscrabble also had some great character development on that front, because all of them didn't believe in Oozma Kappa, including Oozma Kappa themselves. And you see that although they had to bring out the best in Oozma Kappa out of a necessity to win, this process makes Mike and Sully realize that Oozma Kappa have strengths of their own, and although they don't look like your standard monsters, their individuality has value, and makes them unique and stand out in different ways. And a scene related to this that I really liked was when Mike took them to Monsters Inc. to show them how monsters could come in different shapes and sizes. This was such a brilliant way to convey the message to Oozma Kappa and Sully, but also to us. Everyone is unique. Everyone has their strengths and their weaknesses. The fact that you don't fit into a certain mold doesn't make you any less. Even Dean Hardscrabble goes through character development of her own. At the start, she's portrayed as this harsh, strict, scaring legend. She was just like almost everyone else in the movie, that she did not believe that certain monsters could be scarers, solely based on how they looked. But like the others, by the end of the movie, due to Oozma Kappa and Mike and Sully's efforts, she realizes that maybe her worldview and her approach is not as infallible as she thought it was, and having her tell Mike and Sully that they surprised her, that they changed the way she looks at things, was a satisfying scene, because this antagonistic force in the movie almost 180'd, and showed her flexibility, and that even she could change. And although this might seem like it's just the same boring transformation as the others, it's actually the reason I think this movie is such an underrated masterpiece, because you can see that each and every character contributes to the movie in an effective way. There are no fillers. Characters are purposeful. All of them went through a change and caused change in other characters, and us as audience took something from it. That's the beauty of cinema. Also, of course, the added beauty of a movie like that is its inspiring message, which is packaged in such a fun and palatable way. All in all, this movie was brilliant in my opinion. Now let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you want more, and I'll see you in the next one.